Indeed, it is another edition of ABC Sports. Time to talk sports, time to get around it. And there have been so many stories around the sports circle that have been calculating. But then again, perhaps we will not be looking at some of the stories that have been making the round in sports. We'll definitely be looking at Nigerian Football Federation. And that is the big heart of today's program. We'll be looking at what has been happening with Nigerian football. What indeed do the new officials have to perhaps render to make Nigeria football teams what they used to be? Not forgetting that the Super Eagles was once, one of the talked about teams in the world. 1994, 96 will not easily be written off. On that note, I welcome you to a show that indeed can hold its own. I haven't changed my name, I won't. On the day I do, you will be the first to know. Grace Obukwalo is my name. Indeed, it is nice to have you there, nice to have you all. Before we came into the studios, we told you guys who we're having as guests. And as I speak, I'm being told there is indeed queues waiting to give up their questions. We'll give you time for you to speak to us. But then again, I have to warn that on this show, you might not have the, that chance to speak to my guest. So there's a possibility of you going to our Twitter page or perhaps visit our Facebook page that could help you render your questions on, because I have my assistant Oba Mokomowo actually making sure that your questions all come to me. But then again, if you are lucky, the number will be 0208 808 0693. Then again, welcome. It is ABC Sports. Tell your neighbors, your friends, all of them. It has since started. And today, the heart of this show is the Nigerian Football Federation. Indeed, Nigerian football. And who else can we bring in to talk about the Nigerian Football Federation, or Nigerian football as it were, if not the president of the Nigerian Football Federation? At 44, many people will say, wow, he's very young. But indeed, that's what most of us have been asking for. Why don't you get a young heart who indeed can hold his own? AMAJU PINNICK is here with us in the studios. AMAJU PINNICK, it's nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much. I feel very privileged.
Good. Indeed, we waited for this moment to have you here on Ben Television. Many of our viewers have actually called for your appearance, and indeed, you find it befitting to join us. We really appreciate you turning up.
Yeah, I really want to thank you for having me, and I think it's a very rare privilege.
Good. Okay, let's just start with, at 44, and AMAJU PINNICK becomes the Nigerian Football Federation president. That's indeed unusual. How did this happen? What was the vision?
At 44, Kojo Williams was 37 years old, I think, when he was chairman of the Nigerian Football Federation then. And some of the brightest and the biggest names that at a point in time held their sway in football, were quite young and knowledgeable. Age has got nothing to do with your leadership of any organization. Age is just number. It's in the Bible that the age of Methuselah has got nothing to do with the wisdom of Solomon. What I have in football is basically passion. And because I could not play the game as a child growing up, I've always decided that one day I will run football. And that dream has been in me growing up. If you know people around me, I've always been eagerly anticipating a day where I will run football at this level and see the kind of impact, the kind of changes. And those years, when you are planning, is like a position that God actually prepared for me, So I've always planned and say that someday I'll get here. And when I get there, by His grace, I'll make a very huge difference. And so that is it. So it's not a matter of saying age. At 44, I'm happy. I'm a family man. I have 3 kids, and a very beautiful and wonderful wife, And my daughter, my first child, is 13 years old. She schools here, Then 2 very handsome boys. Then my wife, of course, a model, a super model. So you won't call me a small boy at 44. Some of the governors that were governors, especially in the first 1999, some of them were 30-something, one was 32, and all this stuff. So to me, age is just numbers,
Okay, moving on. So far, how have you, seen the Nigerian football? What has been the experience you following Nigerian football? Before you came into it, what was missing that you wanted to perhaps build?
I've always been following Nigerian football because somebody that actually mentored me in Nigerian football is my late brother, Okpomo, Patrick Okpomo. No biological relationship, but I was born into his arms. And then growing up, I had always been going to the National Stadium at age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, watching all the big games. I recall some very glowing moments, you know. I remember when Mafredona came. I remember Auto Gloria in 1980. I remember, you know, when West African came, you know. I remember a lot of moments, you know. I was in the stadium when Sam Akwaraji died, you know. I was sitting in what's called the right upper cover seat in the National Stadium, you know. So I've always been following this game, and I've always been prepared for it. So it's nothing that is, if you look at administration coming from, you see that a lot of things that we relied on was magic. You know, when I mean magic, you know, where the last board, they were hugely successful. They won everything that there is to win. You know, won the Nations Cup, won the Under-17, got to the finals of the Female Nations Cup. Practically everything that was available, you know. At that point, qualified Nigeria for all the FIFA events, you know. But theirs was basically magical, you know. What I mean, they prepared the team, but ours is applying science in running of football. Combine their magic and science, and you see the result.
So simply,
and that's what, yes.
Simply, you bring in science into football.
Yeah,
that is your main aim.
That is exactly what we've been doing. And if you could see the result, you know, when we came out, you see, I studied political science and public administration. In everything you do, there is always what's called the facilitating factors to success and facilitating factors to failure. And those are called the predisposing factors and the predisposing factors, again, to failure. These two factors, if you put them together, will help you build on whatever you set out to achieve. What are the facilitating factors? There's what's called the quick impact projects. What are the quick impact projects that we want to do? Is building capacity of the pitch. These are some of the predisposing factors. You build capacity of the pitch that can impact on the pitch. And I can tell you today, since we came on, we have trained, we noticed that if we were to have a guaranteed future in terms of football followership, in terms of winning laurels, in terms of sustaining that culture, we must have a very, very strong, viable, and very attractive league. And for you to have that, you need to have the officials. You need to have the officials, when I mean the referees, the match assessors, the match commissioners, very well trained. And we also notice that Nigerians do not participate. We only go on the field, our national teams. You don't see Nigerian referees anywhere in the last 10 years. You won't see Nigerian referee even in Nations Cup. You won't see Nigerian referee in any FIFA event. So to me, it was becoming preposterous, apart from the times of the Chukwujekwe, Alex Mana, and all those people. So it was then Omeri. It was getting, you know. So that was one of my selling points. I said, if I get elected, one of the things I would do is to build the capacity of referees. I will prepare them to be attractive. Once they're attractive, you start having referees, you know, in major tournaments.
Sorry, just to cut you short there. When you talk about referees in Nigeria going out or wherever in the world to take some lessons, are you talking about selected referees or are you talking about Nigerian referee?
In Nigerian referees, what we are trying to do is to build capacity in Nigerian referees. When you build their capacity, that's one of the quick impact projects. Building referees, building their capacity, and making them see that today's world is driven by technology. Refereeing is driven by technology. It's not the one you just hold a whistle, you know. There's communication between the referees and the ARO1, the ARO2, the assistant referees and all those stuff, even to the bench, you know. There's a lot going on, you know. And we must key into it if we must attain that goal, you know. And what we did was we've trained a total of 30 referees. We brought them to England, had the best training here in England, got some very seasoned Premier League referees, ex-referees, had some internship, did match analysis before, during, and after the game. And while they were there, a referee in Nigeria was called upon to officiate in the last Nations Cup Edibe. To us, it was a huge success. And he officiated to a very high level in the tournament and was recommended as one of the top referees in that tournament. Just after that, we had another Nigerian referee that came to England for the training officiating in the Under-17 World Cup, in Under-17 Nations Cup. Another one officiated in Senegal. Now, we've had one being called upon to officiate in the Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand. So we now see referees, a lot of them are in CAF tournaments now. Nigerian referees are now like being very attractive. And that's one of the quick impact programs that we really want people to see. Now, we are bringing the last batch. They are coming within the next 2 weeks to England, 20 referees, to have the same kind of training. And after referees, we now decided to, okay, what about coaches? How do we build their capacity? We have to build in capacity, because if you look at today's world, it's not about coaching. You stand and you look at the relationship between the goalkeeper and the defense and the midfield, and midfield to the attack. You see, it goes beyond that, because the same way you see people going to lab, scientists going to lab to look for cures for Ebola and HIV, people are in various labs looking for how to score goals, looking how to develop various techniques. You know, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he said, oh, this Arsenal game and Chelsea, Mourinho is going to come out with his classic. And what is his classic? Populate the midfield and the defense and isolate the attack.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm trying to say is that football has gone to a station whereby how did he arrive at that? He looks at the situation that, listen, these Arsenal players, they play tip-tap, they hold the ball, frustrate them. This is what you have to do. You don't just sit down and look at it. Somebody would have analyzed it. So that's what we did. So we brought in coaches here to train on a specialized form of coaching using the new technology called match analysis. Okay. And so far, we've been able to train a lot of referees. I'm also happy to inform, coaches. And now we've acquired the equipment. It's called the ProServe equipment that we use in analyzing game. Total analysis is very new, and if you use it, there's no way you are not going to make an impact in your game. So we are keen into this science of modern day football, and it's really going to help us. Nigerians must be able to be patient. We have a dream. We have age on our side. I've never used the word I, because I represent just one person, but we are members of the executive committee. Everything that we do, we all look at it, look at the pros and cons, and at the end of the day, we draw an inference on the direction we are going to. And I'm happy with the executive committee, because they now know that our vision is a vision that can place Nigeria on a pedestal. Everybody will see the country and say, yes, we are there.
Good. I'm a bit ashamed that you wanted to lay an emphasis, and the emphasis you started with Arsenal and Chelsea. You know, I could have been glad if I heard Rangers and Iwanyangu, or perhaps hear things like Udoji and some of those league or some of those teams in Nigeria. Do you watch Nigerian Premier League?
Of course.
What do you think about the Nigerian Premier League?
I just told you that now the impact of the training referees is impacting hugely. Last weekend, Enyimba lost at home to Kano Pillars, and they went away to beat FC Taraba. Abia Warriors lost at home and went away to beat Kwara United, one of these teams. So you can see that now, and there was a game between Sharks and Dolphin Dolphin and Sunshine last weekend, that the referee was, because we now have, apart from the match commissioners, we have match assessors, and some of them came here to train as well. So the match assessors report, coupled with the match commissioners report, kind of indicted the referee, and the referee was suspended for the entire season. Because if we are to move, if we are to key into this, and if we have to make an impact globally in football, we must be very decisive about officiating. Good.
Apart from the officiating, one of the most things that disturbs the officiating, if I have to say, is in terms of welfare, the salary. If a man have not eaten and goes to officiate, there could be a terms of biasness in the refereeing. Have you looked into the welfare, the salaries of some of these referees?
We have a very competent league management company, and they started a couple of years ago, and before then, you ask yourself, where were we? Since they came on, I think they've demonstrated a lot of character, a lot of dexterity, a lot of very priceless leadership qualities, and for the first time, teams now receive honorarium grants the same way it happens here. First, what they try to do is to build the league to be very attractive, to attract Nigerian corporates and beyond, in partnering them, and of course talking to the teams, the club owners, and making them realize that this is our goal, this is what is coming in, and this is what goes to the club. Now, Nigerian clubs, you know, I've been an ardent follower of Nigerian football. It's not just the national teams. I'm a diehard Warrior supporter. I'm a Warrior boy, you should understand that. But right now it goes beyond that because I am now at a picture whereby I look at every club as my constituency. But that doesn't mean that I do not have my sympathy for my club. Everybody, you must have a sympathy for a club. And even before Warriors, Insurance of Benin, those traditional clubs, 3SC. Talk about the Raka Rovers, talk about, you know, the IBL Elisha, you know, Abiola Babes of Leventis. They had a very prolific midfielder they call him One Touch, Bode Williams. I have been following the league for a very long time. And the league then was a lot very competitive because of what? Officiating. Then Abiola United, Abiola Babes could go to Leventis United and beat Leventis United. Vice versa. Stationary stores, the same thing. But we are trying to bring back. And the only interface we have is with the league management company. We are like the Supremo, but they run the league. And I can tell you that I pass a vote of confidence on them because I think they are doing very well. But they've not gotten to where we want them to get to. We have not gotten to where Nigerians want us to get to. But that's why I've called for perseverance from all Nigerians to say that we are taking this thing gradually. And by God's grace, we'll get to our promised land. Nothing good comes easy. Beautiful roses always grow on thorny plants. We should realize that. You see, we don't want to be bamboozled into making mistakes. You know, we get all kinds of people insult every day, while some people still say, oh, we appreciate what you're doing. A lot of people, I drove into a filling station in, you know, Awolowo Nikoi a few weeks ago, and some guy came there, oh, Pinnick, you are doing very well. I really appreciate you. You're the president of NFF. I wanted to pay. He paid for my fuel. Little things like that give us a lot of encouragement. Why some we tell you that you are this, you are that, you see all those kind of things. But because people are very passionate. I do not begrudge those people. They are very passionate. They love football. You should understand the first, second, fourth love of Nigeria is all football. In England, you can talk about football, talk about rugby, talk about cricket, talk about roundhouse game and all those. In South Africa, you talk about rugby first before you even talk about football. In America, so Nigeria is strictly football, and football has been a major unifying factor. You see, even on the field of play, you see all those footballers, some have sympathy for PDP, some have sympathy for APC, but they pass the balls to themselves. That's the strength of football.
Okay. We'll be speaking to AMAJU Pinnick, the president of the Nigerian Football Federation. If you are joining us on the still your program, ABC Sports with yours sincerely, Chris Obukwalo. The phone lines any minute from now will be opening. Remember, when we open the lines, do not swear. We have at least 30 million people watching at this point, and some of them might include kids. So please make your questions straight to the point, and please, once again, do not swear. Questions straight to the point, and just have to have it. But again, I have to warn, in case you can't get through to us, please, the Twitter and of course the Facebook page will be open for you to write your questions on. Moving on, let's quickly talk about the Nigerian. I so love the Nigerian Premier League. We found out that some of the Nigerian Premier League representing Nigeria in the continent couldn't even catch a fly out there. There's an incident where we saw one of the teams sleeping, at the airport. I mean, if your son or something like that happens, you will not be glad to see this type of things. AMAJU Pinnick, you are the president of the Nigerian Football Federation. How did you say it?
Well, the Football Federation will always take responsibility for every actions or inactions, as it applies to football in Nigeria. And but one thing I can tell you for free is, Nigeria went through some kind of political transformation in the last few weeks, and most of the clubs are owned by governments. That's an area we're also looking at, trying to see how we can isolate government from running of some of these clubs, let them concentrate on developmental issues. We're also talking to the league management because of that, So I think it's one of the clubs that depended. Now, every government now is fighting for survival. Every state government looking for a way of how to have a smooth transition, a seamless transition. Everybody have their candidate and all those stuff. So little attention was paid to the clubs at that point. So we're trying to avoid this in the next 4 years. And I believe in the next 4 years, we'll have a lot of private sector participation in the clubs, participation and ownership of these clubs. So all things like this will not happen. But right now, most of these clubs are owned by the governments of various states.
Good. When you came in, one of the things I heard from, from your talks to the media was that you want to open up what is called the technical study group. What is the function? What is the aim of this group?
Well, what you try to do is also science. The technical study group, that is the TSG, every football organizations, that know their onions, know that you need to have a technical study group, that we provide, apart from a database of every footballing activity, academically and scientifically. They will need to know, for example, how many players are playing abroad, how many of them are in the A-leagues. Of course, the number of A-leagues in the world, just about 5. This Italian league, the EPL, the the Bundesliga, and the Spanish league, the La Liga, and one of these are the they look at the number of players that are playing those leagues, look at the number of players that are playing the lower leagues, and how many minutes playing time do they have in each of these teams. And you also look at the technical study group. We even went beyond that. Their scope also includes scouting, looking at Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians that have not been to Nigeria, but they are Nigerian by birth, Nigerian by origin. They are still plying their trade here, and so many other countries, how to encourage them to come home. And the head of the technical study group is also the chairman of the Data Football Association now, J.J. Okocha, and he's doing a lot of work. He's doing a lot of work right now. But most of the things that we do it discreetly, And the Kano Wanko is also a member, Taribo West, Benita Kwegbu, a lot of them, Finidi George, these are members of the technical study group, but just few of them that are working right now,
All right. Pinnick, give me a minute. Let me talk to those who are at home. 0208-808-0693 is the number. The phone lines are officially open. Let's pick up with the first caller. Hello, caller. Good day. Welcome. It is your program, ABC Sports. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Dele. I'm calling from London.
Good. Dele from London. Go on, Dele.
Okay. I've just got 2 quick questions for Mr. Pinnick.
Please.
The first question was, which you asked but he didn't answer, was when was the last time that he actually watched a Nigerian league match? That's the first question. And the second question is, can he actually confirm if he is a season ticket holder of Arsenal Football Club?
Thank you.
I am proudly a season ticket owner of Arsenal Football Club. I followed Arsenal from Ian Wright to Kanu Wanko until date, and I don't have any regrets. It has never stopped me from doing what I need to do. That shows passion, and I believe that's the truth. And the last time I watched a game in Nigerian Premier League, the league just started. I think they are in their week 5. I've not really, if you are the president of Nigerian Football Federation, with all due respect to you, caller, is that before when we're coming now, we're calculating my next line of action, leaving here, going back to Nigeria, coming for FIFA Congress, from FIFA Congress. One leg is going to Canada, the other one is going to New Zealand. You're leaving Canada, coming to play on the 13th, Nigeria and Chad. So it's a very tight schedule for us. But whenever I have the opportunity, I will not. I do not fail. I love football, whether Nigerian Premier League, whether even the lower league, whether the state leagues. I've always been part of football, and it's part and parcel of my life.
Okay. Let's talk about the Super Eagles. I guess they are the team everybody actually, whenever I say Nigerian football, everybody just goes straight to the senior team. If you remember, perhaps this clip might give you a dice of what I'm trying to paint here. When Stephen Okechukwu Keshi took over, we saw a brilliant moment, a moment that indeed cannot be forgotten very easily. Perhaps we take a look. Let's enjoy this, we'll get to return.